the cities that sank and the ones built to replace them. Imagine standing on a beach in the year 2150. Now imagine that beach is actually the roof of a 40-story building. That's the future some scientists believe is coming, and in this video, we're going to take you there. We'll show you the cities the ocean swallowed, the new cities that rose to replace them, and the strange world left behind. Stay with me, because the last part of this story might be the strangest of all. For most of human history, we built our biggest cities by the sea. It made sense. The ocean brought trade, food, and life. Dubai, Miami, Shanghai, Dhaka, these weren't just cities. They were monuments to how powerful humans had become. Millions of people living right at the edge of the sea, like they were daring it to come closer. And the sea accepted the dare. Picture Miami first, bright, loud, full of music and money. Now picture it 100 years later. The streets are rivers. The famous beaches are gone, not because the sand washed away, but because there is no line anymore between beach and ocean. The tall buildings are still there, some of them standing like lonely giants in water up to their 10th floor. People used to walk these streets in flip-flops. Now, if anyone visits at all, they arrive by boat. Now picture Dhaka, one of the most crowded cities humans ever built. The rivers around it were always rising a little every year. Then, a little became a lot. Entire neighborhoods that used to be filled with the sound of cooking, laughing, arguing, living gone quiet under brown water. And Shanghai, one of the most modern cities on Earth, a symbol of the future. Its skyline used to glow at night like a circuit board. Now picture that same skyline, lights off, water lapping at the lobby doors of skyscrapers that once had waiting lists for office space. Here's a question worth sitting with. If this could happen to cities this powerful, this wealthy, this advanced, could it happen to any city? That's the unsettling part. It's not really about faraway places. It's about the idea that the ground we stand on, the home we love, none of it is as permanent as it feels. But here's where the story turns. Because when the water rose, people didn't just disappear. They moved. And what happened next might be one of the biggest population shifts in human history. Picture the coldest, emptiest parts of the world, places like Siberia. For centuries, this was land nobody wanted. Too cold, too far, too harsh. But as the planet warmed, the frozen ground began to soften. The brutal winters became survivable. And people who had nowhere else to go started looking at empty land with new eyes. Now picture new cities rising there, not slowly, over centuries, but fast, built in decades. Wide streets, heated buildings, indoor farms growing food under bright lights because outside, the soil was still learning how to be useful again. The same story played out in Central Asia. Old desert towns, half forgotten for 100 years, suddenly found themselves on the map again. And deep in Central Africa, in places once seen as remote, new megacities began climbing out of the ground, built by people who had lost their first home by the ocean and were determined never to lose a second one. Doesn't that change how you think about a map? The places we always thought were the center of the world, what if they're not the center forever? But the most incredible chapter of this story isn't on land at all. Picture the Pacific Ocean, dotted with structures that look like something out of a dream. Massive floating platforms, linked together, rising and falling gently with the waves. Cities that don't sit on land, they float on top of the very water that swallowed the old world. These floating city-states didn't start as some big idea. They started small, tiny island nations with nowhere to go when their homeland sank. They had two choices: disappear, or build something that could rise with the sea instead of fighting it. So they built up. Then they built out. And slowly, these floating nations became something nobody expected: the richest places on Earth. Why? Because while the rest of the world fought to defend cities that were already dying, these floating cities solved the one problem nobody else could. They didn't need the sea to stay still. They simply moved with it. Picture the very first platform ever built small, experimental, wobbling with every wave. The engineers weren't trying to create the richest nation on Earth. They were trying to save a few hundred people from a tiny island already half underwater. Now, picture decades later, that platform has grown into a floating city with its own farms, schools, and government. And the big, powerful nations that once ignored these small island countries now send ambassadors there, asking how it's done. Doesn't that feel like a quiet kind of justice? The people who lost the smallest, quietest islands first ended up building the wealthiest homes on the planet. And now, picture something almost impossible to imagine. Tourism, underwater, divers slipping beneath the waves. Not to see coral or fish, but to see streets, real streets, traffic lights frozen forever at red, shop signs slowly being grown over by sea plants. Picture someone swimming gently through what used to be a subway station, sunlight flickering down through the water, lighting up old tile floors like an underwater museum. This is what people are calling ghost city tourism. Divers paying enormous amounts of money just to swim through the bones of old Manhattan, floating past the tops of skyscrapers that once held millionaires' offices, now home to fish. Picture running your hand along a window that used to look out over Times Square, now looking out over nothing but deep blue water. Picture an old yellow taxi, completely covered in sea growth, sitting at an intersection exactly where it stopped the day it was abandoned. No driver, no passengers, just stillness. Or a coffee shop window, the chairs still upright inside, as if waiting for customers who left over 100 years ago and never came back. Some divers say it feels like swimming through a memory, not a city. A memory of a city. Isn't it strange to think that a place once so loud, so busy, so impossible to ignore could one day become this still, this silent, this blue? So here's the real question this whole story leaves us with. Every old coastal city that sank represents something lost: culture, history, identity, things that took hundreds of years to build, gone in decades. But every new city, whether built on frozen land or floating on open water, represents something else: human stubbornness, the refusal to simply give up. If you ask people who study the future seriously, most will tell you the same thing: humans rarely choose extinction. We choose adaptation, even when it's messy, even when it's unfair, even when the richest get to escape first while everyone else struggles behind. That's the uncomfortable truth hiding inside a story like this. The future isn't just about rising water, it's about who gets lifted up with it and who gets left behind. Maybe that's the real lesson buried in this imagined future. The cities of tomorrow won't just be built from steel and concrete. They'll be built from decisions we make today, about fairness, about preparation, about whether we wait for disaster to force our hand or build smarter while we still have the choice. So here's something to think about before you go. If you knew right now that the place you call home might not exist in 100 years, would you spend your life trying to save it? Or would you start dreaming about the place you'd build next? Let us know what you think in the comments. We read every single one. And if this story pulled you in, do us a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're constantly exploring stories like this, bold visions of the future, the world as it could be, the cities that might rise and the ones that might fall. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. We'll see you in the next story.